people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. Per the WBC's own website, it would appear that undisputed flyweight champion Gabi Fundora is on schedule to defend her undisputed crown against mandatory challenger of Australia, Viviana Ruiz, who I recall some months ago calling Gabi out for a fight.
Careful what you wish for, because you just might get it.
Would appear that Viviana Ruiz has got it, and based on the date and location of the match, looks to be happening on the undercard of Ryan Garcia versus Mario Barrios, set to go down here in the United States in Las Vegas on February 21st. Financed by Turkey LL Sheikh.
We all know he's basically the financier of that fight, even though it's heavily packed with Golden Boy Promotions fighters, Gabi Fundora among them, who sports an unblemished record of 17 wins with no losses and no draws, 9 knockouts, one of the hardest punchers in women's boxing today, having won the last 3 contests by way of knockout and having knocked out 5 of her last 6 opponents. Viviana Ruiz,
corredor, which means hallway in Spanish, or runner.
What?
Sports a professional record of 10 wins with 2 losses and no draws, 5 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 12 professional bouts. Viviana is considerably older than Gabi Fundora and less experienced as a professional when you consider she has less fights than Gabi. Last in action in April of last year opposite the ring, Maria Rivera, who she beat by way of a split decision over 10 rounds, coming off of 2 consecutive wins after having dropped a decision to former champion Louisa Houghton in September of 2024.
She's had 2 fights since then and won 2 fights since then.
To the reigning champion Gabi Fundora, who was last in action in September of last year opposite the ring Canada's own Alexis Kubicki, who she stopped in the 7th round of a contest scheduled for 10. Now set to square off against Viviana Ruiz, who is 19 years her senior at 42 years old, to Gabi, who's very fresh and fly, 23.
And I think that this fight is going to go the same way that Gabi's last 3 fights went. I think she's going to overpower Viviana Ruiz. She's going to bear down on her, and she's going to stop her. She's going to knock her out. Viviana has never been knocked out, but then again, Gabriela Fundora had never been knocked out. Marilyn Badillo had never been knocked out, and Alexis Kubicki had never been knocked out, up until they fought Gabi.
So I think the same would apply here. There have been a lot of questions as to what will happen to Gabi Fundora if DAZN makes the decision not to renew with Golden Boy Promotions. If Golden Boy were to go under, what becomes of the undisputed flyweight champion?
Been talking a lot about this. Oscar's poor relationship with his fighters, the fact that they're between broadcasters right now and DAZN has yet to renew with them, that he didn't deliver them the Virgil Ortiz versus Boots Ennis fight they were pressuring him to make, and instead he's being sued by Virgil.
If you're DAZN, do you see much of an incentive in there to keep doing business with Golden Boy Promotions? So the possibility that they don't is something we've been entertaining, and in a situation where Golden Boy goes under, Golden Boy is dissolved, Gabi can always migrate to MVP. That has fast become the flagship promotion for female fighters around the world. If she doesn't want to go there, she can go to Matchroom, that still hosts a robust stable of women boxers.
I'm sure they'd be happy to have her, because Gabi Fundora is that rare female fighter that delivers not only a fan-friendly fight, but a strong finish. Gabi is one of the stronger finishers in all of women's boxing. She's everything you want in a fighter, well-spoken, young, with her whole career ahead of her, and her unique physical dimensions make it possible for her to one day move up to superfly, bantam, maybe even super bantam, maybe feather. She's a tall drink of boxing.
Something happens to Golden Boy, Gabby Fundora will not be up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. I'm sure that someone will pick her up. Her boxing, it speaks for itself.
I'm sure she'll be fine. For now, she's set to return to action February 21st on the undercard of Garcia versus Barrios, and I'm sure that she'll do the business, she'll stay undisputed champion, and we'll see where she goes from there.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, what news came out yesterday during the Matchroom show, Bam Rodriguez has re-signed with Matchroom. Eddie Hearn has confirmed that he has matched an offer from Zuffa Boxing for pound star Jesse Bam Rodriguez, and so Bam has re-signed with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom. We've matched the offer already. We're in a good position with Bam. We'll be moving forward and we'll be announcing his next fight very soon.
They had matching rights on Bam. That was part of his contract. For those not familiar with what matching rights are, it's simple.
Basically gives Matchroom the right of first refusal to match whatever offers are made to Bam Rodriguez in order to extend their deal with him if they so choose. If somebody makes Bam an offer for more money than he's been making as part of his original deal, Matchroom then has the right to decide if they want to match it and continue with Bam or not. It was said that several promoters actually made a play to sign Bam Rodriguez, Zuffa Boxing being one among them.
Though according to Eddie Hearn, he won't be going over there. He wants to put Bam in the ring with the IBF champion Willibaldo Garcia to collect the last remaining puzzle piece of the super flyweight crown so he can, in effect, become its undisputed champion, though per reports, it is unlikely at this point that Bam's next fight will be for undisputed because, per sources, the IBF have ordered the champion Willibaldo Garcia to defend his title against his mandatory Andrew Maloney next. The pair have until February 20th to reach a deal. A step-aside agreement can be worked out with Maloney and the champion Garcia, who can request an exemption for undisputed at any time before the IBF calls for a purse bid.
And so we have to address this story in layers, as there are several layers to it. I think for Andrew Maloney, the smartest decision would be to reach a step-aside deal, allow Willibaldo to go fight Bam. Bam! So long as you get some compensation for allowing the contest to go on, some step-aside money, that way you get paid without having to throw a punch, and in doing so, you don't lose your world title opportunity. You're still the mandatory. You still have it. You might stand a better chance of becoming IBF champion yourself if you don't have to go through Willibaldo Garcia. Because how much money were you going to make for fighting that guy anyway? This way, you still have your title shot, you just make some side money in the process, and we get the undisputed title fight that the super flyweight division has yet to deliver us. To my knowledge, there's never been an undisputed super flyweight champion in the four-belt era. To my knowledge, I don't think there's ever been an undisputed super flyweight champion at all. So this is a historic fight that I think needs to happen more than a simple mandatory. I think it's important that Matchroom deliver this fight to Bam too in order to make that history. It was becoming an undisputed champion that really catapulted Inoue to the next stratosphere and Alexander Usyk. That was the launch pad for those fighters. It can be the launch pad for Bam. To get that last brass ring. Right now, only really hardcore boxing fans know about Bam. Guys who follow the sport closely to try and enter the casual consciousness.
Gotta make more of a splash. Becoming undisputed might do that.
Now for the other angle of this story. Apparently Zuffa Boxing has made a play to bring Bam to their side of things, what I consider an aggressive strategy, because they already picked up Jai Opataya, they're trying to pick up Alexander Usyk, and apparently they made a play for Bam, which would have been in the days leading up to Zuffa Boxing's debut, their inaugural show. They're going after guys.
Which isn't what any of us thought, because we were under the impression they weren't going to deal with the sanctioning bodies, and thus they weren't going to deal with their champions. I was under the impression they were really just going after the outliers, B and C tier fighters. How wrong I was.
How wrong we all were.
Eddie Hearn did say that he wanted to compete against Dana White. He wanted to go up against them, against Zuffa, but when he said that, we were all under the impression that Zuffa would be comprised of B and C tier fighters, not fighters like Bam.
And fighters like Jai, and whatever other fighters Zuffa decides to sign. See, now it's a competition when you're going after the same guys. Wouldn't have been a competition before. Matchroom pitting their shows against Zuffa that we thought would be comprised of outliers. That's not competition, but this is.
I don't think they know what they're doing at the moment. You've got Dana in the business world on Bloomberg saying, we're not working with governing bodies, we're not recognising organisations, we're doing our own thing. We've got this league, blah, 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 blah. Then obviously Jai goes there and apparently he's unifying in his next fight on Zuffa. And it's like, I thought you weren't recognising belts. Oh no, well, we're going to see how... And it's like, I don't understand the messaging. Then you have tomorrow night, which, like, what is that? Like, is it the league? Is it the start of the league? How does the league work? Then I asked someone that earlier and they went, no, it's not the start of the league. I said, okay, so what is it, 3 random 10-rounders? And it's like, yeah, it's 3 fights. I said, but what are the what do the fights mean? Boxing fans are a little bit confused. Maybe they don't want boxing fans. They just want to reach out to casual fans and do a night of fights. But for me, and they do it in the UFC, by the way, there's got to be a storytelling process and there's got to be a route for a fighter to the championship. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's early days. Like, I don't think they know yet what they're doing.
Eddie and everybody else can spend as much time as they want harping about what's supposed to be Dana White's contradiction, change of heart, maybe he changed his mind. It all equates to the same thing. He's going after the same fighters that you are, and if he can sign some of them, that enables him to compete with you. Period. It's not what he originally said. Perhaps it's a contradiction, but how many times have the people in boxing contradicted themselves right in front of us, to where if Dana White's doing it, then he'll fit right in. Though I think it's a mistake to assume that they don't know what they're doing or that they don't have a plan. Maybe it's that they altered the plan. Initially, when they decide to launch this Zuffa Boxing, they're anticipating upwards of 3 to 4 promoters in the American boxing space that may have broadcast deals and established relationships with these sanctioning bodies. Knowing that boxing is a boys' club, they tell themselves, we can't horn in on what they've got going on. What we can do is try to carve out a lane for ourselves, not working with those sanctioning bodies, up until they get a look at the place, a look at the landscape, and realize that 3 out of the 4 promoters operating in America, the big ones, are in a weakened state. The PBC's been slugging along ever since they lost Showtime, Top Rank since they lost ESPN, Golden Boy may be on the way out, and the only real competition for you in the American boxing space would be Matchroom. But that's about it. Considerably less pushback than you anticipated. And the sanctioning bodies, they fall in line with whoever's got the TV money. So yeah, if Top Rank and the PBC still had it, then they'd be falling in line with them. The way it is, those friendships may have outlived their usefulness. You don't have to really worry about them. Because if you alter your strategy, play your cards right, you might have those same sanctioning bodies eating out of the palm of your hand in a year's time. They fall in line with whoever's got the TV money, and right now, Zuffa's got TV money. PBC doesn't, Top Rank still doesn't, Golden Boy might be about to lose theirs, leaving only Matchroom to contend with. Suddenly competing in the American boxing space is nowhere near as difficult as you thought it would be. So on that predication, it would be smart to alter the original plan. And that's what I think they did at Zuffa. It's not that they didn't have one, or they don't know what they're doing. They just got a closer look at the landscape and decided maybe they'll work with some of these sanctioning body champions after all to make your job harder. Increase their brand power and brand trust with the boxing fans simultaneously, be able to compete with you. And I don't expect Eddie to be happy about that.
You got to take your hat off to Josh Kelly. He can win that fight. And he's already signed to fight Boots. So Josh Kelly could be the guy that Boots fights next. We'll see what happens next Saturday.
That be in Philadelphia?
Philadelphia. We can do it in in Sunderland. I don't care. But Josh becomes a major player next week.
That'd be welcome news if most people didn't have Bakram Murtazaliev steamrolling Josh Kelly the same way that Josh Kelly got steamrolled by David Evanesian some years ago during the COVID era.
If we could approach this fight this upcoming weekend with more confidence that Josh Kelly can do the business, outbox the hairy Russian, and go straight into the boots fight, this would be welcome news, but...
But most people have Josh Kelly losing next weekend, and what you have to wonder is, if he loses, does Bakram fight Boots in his place? Because Boots needs to fight somebody. It may not be his fault that the Virgil Ortiz fight collapsed. All that blame, you can place it on Golden Boy, but he's still under pressure to fight somebody and fight somebody good, because you already had your layup fight, your little tune-up in your junior middleweight debut, Luis Malima, in an inconsequential fight. Now, it's time to fight somebody serious, and if Bakram ends up being the only available guy,
that's what you gotta do.
we're past the point of just putting Boots on a pedestal based on the eye test. The guy's got over 30 fights, most of them in the welterweight division, but all he really has to show for his welterweight campaign is the scalp of a Mantis Stanionis. Needless to say that those eggs need more bacon, and that resume needs more names.
For how many years was he on the same side of the street as Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, a host of PBC fighters? Even if he wasn't one himself, he was boxing on the same platform as them. He was as good as a PBC fighter as many times as he boxed on PBC shows.
For how many years? So that's where the impatience with Jaron Ennis comes from, even if it's not directly his fault that the Virgil Ortiz fight didn't happen. The reality of it is, you're not at PBC and Showtime anymore. You're with Matchroom now. You're at junior middleweight. Sebastian Fundora is not available. I don't think you can get a Xander Zayas fight if Xander beats Abbas Baru.
Or Baru beats him. Irrespective of who wins that fight, they're fighting next weekend. They won't be ready in time to fight you in March or April or whenever it is you're coming back.
But Bakram Murtazaliev, he might be. If he goes in there, he steamrolls Josh Kelly, 1 or 2 rounds. If it doesn't take long, minimal effort, he could be ready to fight you in a jiffy. So you should have the same energy, the same enthusiasm to face Bakram if he wins that fight that you might have for Josh Kelly if he wins that fight. Eddie Hearn.
The same applies to him.
He has delivered for Boots Ennis so far. He's keeping him on a more active schedule of fights than he was on when he was at Showtime. He got him the unification match he was looking for. Now, you gotta get him a title at junior middle.
If that's the only one that's available, then that's the one you have to go after. He can't fight more Luis Malimas.
All the more reason to tune into the Matchroom show next Saturday afternoon, happening in the United Kingdom, to see what happens, because whatever happens, the winner may have to fight Boots. He might have to fight them.